They ran cross-country in their underwear, glued their teammates' boots together, and exposed themselves to the fans. The chairman would scroll insults on the locker room wall and promise a camel to anyone who scored 20 goals or more in a season. Sounds crazy, right? Yet in just 6 years, the Wild Band went from the 4th Division to the Premier League, reached the FA Cup final, and beat a Liverpool side at the peak of their powers. And today I'm going to tell you about the absolutely most outrageous team in football history. This is Wimbledon, or as they were famously known, the Crazy Gang. Crazy Gang 1.0. It all started in 1977 when Lebanese businessman Sam Hammam hopped in a London cab. He just lost out on buying Chelsea. Dejected, he started pouring his heart out to the driver, who gave him a fateful advice: buy Wimbledon. The fact that Chelsea were top flight and Wimbledon were in the 4th division didn't faze Hammam. He wasn't even a football fan. He loved tennis and wanted to buy something to remember London by. Some people buy fridge magnets, he bought a football club. Wimbledon was perfect, a London club, far cheaper than Chelsea and right next to the world's tennis capital. So in 1977, Hammam bought 30% of the club, and by 1981, he was the sole owner. As his head coach, he hired Dave Bassett, nicknamed Dirty Harry, after the Clint Eastwood film, a cop who used radical methods. Bassett certainly lived up to the name. He would convince players to strip a teammate naked on the motorway just for laughs, and they did. Dirty Harry even took the players to a military base, dressed them in camouflage, and put them through intense training. Legend has it, Bassett even mortgaged his own house while under Hammam's influence to secure a £1,000 loan to buy players. And it paid off. They signed Nigel Winterburn for £15,000, and a few years later, he moved to Arsenal for 23 times that amount. The crazy Hammam-Bassett partnership launched Wimbledon's incredible ascent. It was a miracle, right up there with Leicester City's Premier League win. Some would even say it's more unbelievable. The rise of the Crazy Gang. Bassett took over Wimbledon mid-season in 80-81, got them promoted to the 3rd division, then immediately relegated them back down. That's where the real story begins. 1983, Wimbledon won the 4th division title and were back up. 84, they were up to the 2nd division, finishing 2nd and scoring staggering 97 goals. 85, a mid-table finish in the 2nd division. 86, promotion to the top flight. No team in English football history had ever gone from the 4th division to the top flight in just 4 years, except Wimbledon. Tony Stanson, football reporter for the Daily Mirror, came up with the moniker, made Dave Bassett's team of all sorts, Raggers Rovers, soccer's Crazy Gang. That's where the legendary nickname came from. And that's when the rest of the 1st division, now called the Premier League, realized they were in for a wild ride. Despite all the craziness, both Hammam and Bassett were incredibly smart. They knew staying up required serious investment, so in 1986, Wimbledon made 2 landmark signings that took the Crazy Gang to the next level. In March, while still battling for promotion, they signed striker John Fashanu. Back then, there were no transfer windows, those only came in 2002. Then in the fall, they discovered Vinnie Jones playing for Helsbergs in the Swedish 3rd division. Fashanu and Jones weren't just talented players, they were complete madmen. They fit perfectly into the Dons culture, becoming the new leaders of the Crazy Gang. Route 1 football. Everyone knows Route 1 football, right? That was Wimbledon's game. Why make 25 short passes? One is enough, from our penalty area to theirs. 115 shots, win 10 corners and 10 throw-ins, then just lump it forward, the Wimbledon manager constantly preached. But it wasn't as simple as it sounds. His assistant Neil Lennon crunched the numbers and determined they needed at least 172 balls into the opponent's penalty area and at least 44 crosses to avoid defeat. Another assistant, Vince Craven, ensured they hit those targets. He even had an £11,000 video analysis setup. That was enough to buy a brand new Mercedes or BMW back then. So for a 2nd or 3rd division club, it was a huge investment, but it paid off big time. Bassett himself acknowledged the serious preparation behind it all. We studied the opposition and practiced set pieces until they were second nature. When I see Mourinho or Wenger praised for their set pieces routines, it makes me chuckle. 20 years ago, we got slated for doing exactly the same thing. Unlike the manager, the Dons players didn't overthink things. John Fashanu would often yell across the pitch to his goalkeeper, "Get this bloody ball into the mixer." The mixer, of course, being the penalty area. If you get the ball, hoof it forward. If you have your back to goal, just try a bicycle kick, was the Crazy Gang's motto. To stay sharp and channel their aggression, they played Harry Ball in training. a Bassett's innovation that mixed rugby and boxing. The winner was whoever took down the most players. Why not? And then there was the Academy. Wimbledon's youth system produced players perfectly suited to Bassett's style, and it worked brilliantly. By the time they reached the top flight, 13 of the 23 players in the Dawn squad were Academy graduates. The Crazy Gang, meet the players. Let's talk about the Crazy Gang, the guys who put Wimbledon on the map. In goal was Dave Bazan, a bargain at just 100 pounds. The Crazy Gang gave him a proper welcome. After meeting the team, he hopped on his motorbike, put on his helmet, and discovered his hair was plastered with the floor and water paste courtesy of his new teammates. He showed up to the next training session with a fresh buzz cut. Midfield boasted the infamous Vinnie Jones. He would beat up a neighbor, a fellow airplane passenger, and once got a yellow card 3 seconds into a game. Lovely fella. Alongside him was the skillful Dennis Wise, nicknamed the Cannibal. He once got into a fight with the manager and broke his rib. Up front, the main man was John Fashanu, a huge karate expert. He had a black belt and would often throw karate kicks in the center circle before kickoff to intimidate opponents. Then there was Alan Cork. He was shorter than almost every defender, but he only scored headers. One season, Cork bagged 33 goals, 29 of them headers. This level of madness drove more than a few club staff members to quit. The team bus driver, for example, left after they put a box on his head while he was driving at 80 miles per hour. During a training camp in Finland, the players tossed their physiotherapists into a lake. The guys stuck it out but decided to leave after that little stunt. The top flight debut. Before the start of the 86-87 season, everyone expected the Madmen to crash and burn. But the Crazy Gang immediately made it clear they weren't going down without a fight. Plough Lane, Wimbledon Stadium quickly gained a fearsome reputation. It was small, with the rusty roof and crumbling seats. The changing rooms like toilets, those were downstairs, and toilet paper was a luxury. In winter, the Dons would turn off the heating in the visitors' dressing room. In summer, they would crank it up to make opponents sweat. But the scariest part for visiting teams was the dark, lightless tunnel where the sweaty, angry Dons would greet their opponents. They would walk down this dark tunnel, and there we were, a bunch of big angry bastards. They got closer and closer, knowing anything could happen. We started screaming in the tunnel and the echo just terrified them, recalled Fashanu. Against all odds, Wimbledon had a fantastic start to the season. After 5 games, they were top of the league, eventually finishing a highly respectable 6th. In their debut top flight season, the Crazy Gang proved they weren't to be messed with. They beat United twice and defeated Liverpool at Anfield. Even established stars like Aaron Shearer felt the full force of the Wimbledon players. Their incredible season ended with a setback. The architect of the Crazy Gang was gone. Dave Bassett was lured away by Watford, with their owner Elton John personally involved. Interestingly, Bassett had almost left 3 years earlier. Crystal Palace had made him an offer, which he accepted, only to publicly reverse his decision 4 days later, declaring his love for Wimbledon. They took him back, but Watford's offer was too good to refuse. Bassett left the Crazy Gang for good. Bobby Gold, a manager who had just finished 19th in the 3rd division with Bristol Rovers, was appointed as his replacement. Why? Nobody knew, but Gold did one crucial thing. He preserved the unique, insane style of play, and that was a brilliant decision. The road to the trophy. The 87-88 season saw Wimbledon finish a respectable 7th, but the real craziness happened in the FA Cup. They beat West Brom and Mansfield in the early rounds. Then came a last 16 clash with Newcastle and Vinnie Jones' legendary encounter with a young Paul Gascoigne. The infamous incident actually happened a bit earlier, but before this last 16 match, Jones famously told Gascoigne, "I'm called Vinnie Jones, I'm a gypsy, I earn lots of dough, and I'm going to bite your ear off then spit it back out on the grass." Gascoigne sent a bouquet of roses to the Wimbledon dressing room before the game, and Jones responded with a toilet brush. Wimbledon won 3-1 and faced Watford in the quarterfinals, managed by their former boss, Dave Bassett. Dirty Harry nearly destroyed his old team. Watford left 1-0 for most of the game, and Wimbledon were down to 10 men when Andy Thorne punched someone and got sent off. But Gold's team was saved by John Fashanu. Fash, as his teammates called him, was everywhere. He won the penalty that leveled the score and then scored a stunning solo goal to win it. Next was the semi-final against Luton, and Wimbledon conceded first again. But Fashanu and Dennis Wise turned the game around, securing a 2-1 victory and a place in the final against the reigning champions, a fearsome Liverpool side. To give you some context, in November 22-23, 442 magazine ranked that Liverpool side 6th in their list of all-time best teams, ahead of Guardiola's Barcelona and Del Bosque's Spain. At the time of their match with Wimbledon, Liverpool had won the league title 9 of the previous 13 seasons. But the crazy gang feared nothing, so their preparation was business as usual. The only change was that the goalkeeper Basson did ask his teammates to practice penalties in the style of John Aldridge, Liverpool's penalty specialist. The night before the final. The night before the biggest game in the club's history, 15 hours to go. Most footballers will be tucked up in bed, aiming for a solid night's sleep. Or maybe tossing and turning full of anxiety. But not the crazy gang. Oh no, the crazy gang putted. Gold knew leaving the players at the hotel was a nightmare waiting to happen. They were bound to cause some trouble, especially after John Fashanu nearly did. He had been hassled by reporters at the hotel and decided to chase them away, punching a door with all his might. He nearly missed the match with a hand injury, so the coach made a bold decision. £50 for each player and off to the pub. Gold and his assistant went to a nearby bar where they bumped into Dennis Wise, Vinnie Jones and Brian Gale. The coach looked at them and said, "Been drinking? I can see you have. Well, that's your own problem. You're paying for your drinks, unlike the rest of the lads who are on the club's tab." At those words, the three practically sprinted to the next bar. Gold's assistant chuckled. "I didn't know they could run this fast." The miracle at Wembley. On the morning of May 14th, the entire team woke up with hangovers, and that's how they rolled into the FA Cup final. Wimbledon were massive underdogs. One tabloid even wrote, "Think of all the greats who never won this. If Wimbledon and Vinnie Jones win it, it will be a joke." Hours before kickoff, Liverpool's Alan Hansen was on the BBC declaring, "I don't see a single Wimbledon fan, it's all Liverpool." And Liverpool captain Steve McMahon was needling Vinnie Jones in an interview. "I am not some fatso from Newcastle, you won't pull those tricks on me." McMahon quickly regretted that last comment. 7 minutes in, Jones absolutely leveled him in a move that would see a straight red card today. No yellow though. Jones later said that's when they won the game. McMahon was effectively out of it and the crazy gang smelled blood. Then in the 37th minute, Wembley went quiet as Loris Sanchez, reacting brilliantly to a free kick, scored. At halftime, Gold's only worry was keeping the lead. He feared he still would crack down under the pressure, so he ordered everyone into a nice bath. Another turning point came in the 61st minute. Liverpool won a penalty and John Aldridge stepped up. The very striker Dave Basson had been practicing against. The run-up, the shot, and the save. It was the first ever penalty missed in the FA Cup final. Wimbledon were unstoppable. The crazy gang, who had started their incredible journey in the 4th division, lifted the trophy in front of nearly 100,000 stunned fans. After the match, Wimbledon chairman Sam Hammam pulled Bobby Gold aside and said, "Sell everyone, you bastards, it will never be this good again." And however painful it is to admit, he was absolutely right. The death of the club. Winning the FA Cup was both a blessing and a curse for Wimbledon's crazy gang. Overnight, these madmen became stars and lucrative offers came pouring in. Brian Gale went to Manchester City, while Newcastle snapped Dave Bassett and Mark Thorne. A year later, their ringleader Vinnie Jones moved to Leeds. Another year passed and Gold left his managerial post, while Chelsea bought Dennis Wise for a hefty £1.6 million. Within a couple of years, the heart of the crazy gang was gone. While Jones did return after 3 seasons, it just wasn't the same. The brotherhood was gone. The former rebels were now on TV, in movies, part of the very establishment they once smoked. Sam Hammam tried desperately to keep the spirit of madness alive. In 1993, he made a famously bizarre bet with striker Dan Holdsworth. 20 goals and Hammam would publicly kiss his butt and buy dinner. If not, Holdsworth would do the same. Hammam lost and kept his promise, but even that couldn't save the club. Forced to move out of their aging playing ground, Wimbledon's lost their home, their soul. Even the new manager admitted the team hated playing at Selhurst Park. Yes, Wimbledon were still relatively successful and even pushing for European football, but no one saw them as the crazy gang anymore. The bond with the fans was gone, and their playing style changed. Hammam attempted a move to Ireland, but the Premier League blocked it. In 1997, he sold 80% of the club to Norwegian ownership, letting go of the remaining 20% in 2000. 3 months after the last of the crazy gang left, the club was relegated to the Championship. By 2004, Wimbledon was essentially dead. The club relocated and changed its name and logo to Milton Keynes Dons. Around the same time, fans who saw where the club was heading created their own Wimbledon, with blackjack and new madmen. Both AFC Wimbledon and MK Dons are currently stuck in League 2, the same division the original Crazy Gang started in. And in over 20 years, neither club has come close to the Premier League. MK Dons' best showing was a 23rd place finish in the championship almost a decade ago. Whether we will ever see a Wimbledon team back in the top flight is anyone's guess. But it definitely won't be the same. It's likely to be a yo-yo club bouncing between leagues like Burnley or Southampton. And let's be honest, a bone-crunching Vinnie Jones in today's game, VAR would have sent him off faster than you can say the Crazy Gang. Let us know your thoughts on this incredible story in the comments below. And whose rise was ultimately greater, Leicester City 2000 fairy tale or that unforgettable Wimbledon team? See you soon, know the ball.